Welcome to the FNO InsureTech podcast, a place where movers and shakers from all points within the insurance ecosystem gather and discuss all things InsureTech. We talk about how technology and innovation are affecting and driving change in the industry. Here are your hosts, Lee Boyd and Rob Beller.
Hey, podcast world. Welcome to another extraordinary. Yep, I said
enormous.
Anything with an E episode of FNO InsureTech. Yes, it's us once again. We're back. Calm down. It's okay. We're okay.
Yeah.
And we're here with another wonderful episode of our favorite podcast, FNO InsureTech.
How exciting.
We've been struggling lately, haven't we, Lee? A little bit.
We have, but we're on a pretty good run of new episodes.
We are. Full transparency. Our audience means everything to us. So full transparency. So we're 3.5 years old. We've been doing this, right?
Yeah.
And we love it. And we're, completely committed to it. And during that time, we've had a global pandemic. We've had the sale of a business.
Yeah.
We've had illnesses and all kinds of normal things that happen in life, both for the good and the bad. And
right.
So we come along to I don't know, what was it, Alicia, late last year, maybe? And we would always joke that we had more guests than we had time to get them all on. And all of a sudden, it was kind of hard to find guests, right?
Yeah. Nobody wanted to work around Christmas.
No, nobody wanted to be on the podcast anymore. And it was a very sad moment. But our intrepid producers, Aldrin Muya and Alicia Moss, got busy.
They got to work.
And
more.
Not only did they get us booked up, but they got us booked up with so many great podcasts and episodes that, oh my God, you, our loyal audience, are going to be thrilled over the next many months with all the great names and great companies that we have coming. Isn't that right, Alicia?
Huge ones,
huge,
big names.
Huge.
We can't tell you who.
No, that would spoil it.
Mm-hmm.
We want them to come home every Friday, all excited, like our one groupie does.
Yeah. Sit down, pour a glass of wine, pull up FNO InsureTech.
Put your feet up.
Yeah. Kick off the shoes.
And press play.
Listen. Have a listen.
On your FNO InsureTech episode of the week.
Yeah.
That's for you, Astrid. This one's for you, Astrid. Isn't that right?
That's right.
So we have with us today the first of all these great episodes I'm talking about. Today's the first one.
Mm-hmm. Okay? Plus the ones that we just did last week. We also love you, guest.
So we were at InsureTech Connect last fall, and there were many of the great InsureTech companies were there. Many who have been on our little Yahoo podcast that we run and pretend it's not a Yahoo podcast, but it is.
You keep telling us that, so we believe it.
Am I wrong?
No.
Okay, so there you have it. So anyway, and one of those extraordinary companies who's been on our podcast before that was at InsureTech Connect was none other than Hover.
Yep.
Tell us a little about Hover, Lee.
Hover, for those of you who have lived under a rock for, the past 3 or 4 years, Hover is this InsureTech out there that's changing the way insurance claims are settled using your mobile phone to obtain measurements and 3D images of homes. And originally started off kind of as a product that was a standalone product, and over the years has integrated into some of the most important insurance systems out there. Mm-hmm. And today we're going to get to talk about how Hover's taking it to the next level and integrating with even more major players,
including our friends at Exactware, or
Verisk.
No longer known as Exactware, now known as Verisk.
Yeah,
and our friends Mike Fulton, etc. And the people at Hover were able to create an agreement to integrate Hover with Exact, which is, for those of us in the claims industry, huge. For those of
Huge.
us in property claims, huge.
It's huge.
And once we saw that and we heard about it, we knew that we had to have them back on the podcast to talk about that and all things Hover. We have Matt Lewis, who's the COO of Hover and ran the sales org at Hover, and Ben Abbott, who is the product manager for insurance at Hover.
Yeah.
And so these two guys are gracious enough to be with us today. And I think you're going to love this episode.
I agree. I think it's a great one.
Okay. So without further ado, let's get to our episode with Matt Lewis, COO, and Ben Abbott, product manager from Hover. Hey, everybody. We are here in our continuing effort to bring you the best, the brightest, the cutting edgiest of all things InsureTechiest.
That's true.
And so today we have with us not one, but two guests from, without question, one of the darlings of the InsureTech world, Hover.
Yep.
We've had Hover on before, and they've had a lot of interesting news over the past several months. And so we wanted to have them on again to get caught up. And so we found two new participants is a good word.
Yeah.
Another word came to my mind, but we won't use that one.
Yeah, we'll scratch
and
that.
To be on with a couple of yahoos to talk about Hover. And so we have with us today two gentlemen from the company. We have Matt Lewis, who's the COO of Hover, has been with Hover for some time. And we also have with us from Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Ben Abbott, who's the staff product manager at Hover. Welcome to our little podcast, gentlemen.
Welcome, guys. Welcome.
Great to be here.
Great to be here.
Matt, I'm cheating a little bit, but where are you today?
I'm in San Francisco, sunny San Francisco.
Home of Hover.
Home of Hover.
Home of Hover. And we already know, Ben, you are in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
True. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you in the Hover office in Milwaukee, Wisconsin?
I'm in my Hover office in Milwaukee.
Mini home
Wisconsin.
office.
Yeah.
We've had AJ Altman on before, so we've had the CEO on before, and we've talked a lot about vision and things and the origin story and all that. So the origin story has kind of already been covered and is well known. But we'll skip forward to kind of where we are today. So Matt, we'll ask you the question first. Tell us a little bit about Hover, what Hover is today, a little bit about the company.
Well, thanks again for having us on. Really, really excited and grateful to be here today. I think at the core of it, Hover is a computer vision company that allows you to take photos of a property with your mobile phone, and we generate 3D structured data of the exterior of the house. When I say 3D structured data, I mean measurements in every line type and substrate on the property, and the computer vision, we actually understand the material types. And what that allows you to do is help people see what the project will look like in the future. So we have an interactive 3D model that you can use to sort of show someone who's in the process of improving their home what their house might look like when the project's done. And the data, 3D structured data, also allows us to help people understand what a home improvement project will cost. So because we have the measurements of the property, it's simple arithmetic to apply material costs to that to understand the cost of the project. So we actually have two of our main customer sets are people that work in exterior home improvement on the professional side, and then obviously people that work in property insurance on the adjusting side. On the home improvement side, you might be talking about helping a homeowner see what the possibilities of the project could look like. We actually have also ingested a lot of the product catalogs of the major distributors in the space, and we understand the pricing of the product, so we can actually help that contractor professional show a homeowner what the project will cost and why. It's a really important thing. If you've ever gone through the home improvement process, oftentimes you'll get pretty wide ranges of quotes.
Sure.
And
sure,
we're trying to bring a level of transparency to this that ultimately helps. I think another really important question homeowners are asking, obviously what will it look like, how much does it cost and why, and then also can I trust this person?
Yeah.
So on the home improvement side, I think we're really enabling that. We actually do now the end-to-end process there where we're taking an order and placing it right into the distributor so they can click a button and orders now, which is a huge time saver and efficiency saver for their business.
Yeah, that's huge.
If you think about home improvement though, a big chunk of those projects are done because the house has been damaged, right? That's why we're here today. An adjuster will work on the project to understand what was the damage, how do I assess this? And in that case, we're not actually doing the estimate. We're taking our data and working with world-class sort of players in this space, in the estimation, education space for adjudication space for insurance, and we're helping them get to the cost, right? So it's structured data now flowing into an estimator on the insurance side to understand what the cost of the project is. Sort of up-leveling for us though, like where are we going with all of this? Obviously we work with home improvement professionals, insurance carriers, and the property insurance side. We work with architects, people in the appraisal space, anywhere where you can imagine this sort of 3D structured digital twin of a property could be used to sort of visualize possibilities or understand the cost of something. But we'd like it to be over time such that we have all of this 3D structured data for every property in the US, if not the world, in our database, so that you as a homeowner could come to Hover and use that structured data, 3D representation of your house to render services to it, to explore possibilities, design possibilities. You could log in, put your address in, there's your house, it's there. And you could maybe facilitate initial conversations with a lot more transparency with a home improvement professional, or even our data could help you evaluate insurance policies or mortgages, things of that nature. So that's a little bit of the longer term view, 5 years out from now, where we would love this to all go, building experiences and value for different people in the professional space that would need to use 3D structured data to do their job better, building software to help them do that, and then ultimately building out a data set such that we can help even homeowners in the process as well. Start with Hover.
So you can give somebody, if I'm understanding correctly, you can give somebody like on a home improvement, right? They want to change the siding of their house, say. I mean, whatever the task may be or the product. And you can say to them, this is how much product you'll need to do it. And this is what, this is an estimate of the cost.
That's right.
So you don't need an estimating platform, if you will, in order to do that. Is that correct?
On the home improvement side, that's correct. Obviously, with insurance, there's a lot of nuances to how that works, and that's not what we're doing today. But on the home improvement side, yes, that's correct.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, we can show them a lot of these systems. If you buy a roof or siding, your listeners will know this. There's a lot of like things that are attached to that, right? So distributors actually have templates they provide that kind of give you, if this is how much shingles, this is how much underlayment, how many nails, etc. There's some customization that the contractors typically want to use, but we'll figure out how to account for that in their flow. And then ultimately for them, it's helping them with the homeowner, because they're not giving them a napkin with a $25,000 quote out there, showing them something that looks professional and is broken out by a line item.
How is the current economy with inflation and changes in, getting materials in time? How is that affecting you? Has that been tough to deal with on the renovation side?
It hasn't impacted us as much, other than just macro trends around. It's been hard, I think, for the professionals in the space to do their job, right? They're waiting. So a lot of them have, I would say, pulled back a little bit, but it's hard to be aggressive when you're going to be looking at 3 to 4 month wait times on materials in terms of going out and driving new business, right? And our business is fueled by them generating 3D data. So in that sense, there's an impact, but it's been tough to watch our professionals. We can see now when they've gone out on project and they are looking to improve a home, then they place an order, how long it actually takes for that to get shipped out. And it can be months at a time. So I think they're really trying to figure out how to adjust this and, using technology like our platform to help them at least get the right, most accurate order in early as fast as possible.
Yeah, because that is the key, right? I have a buddy who builds houses. He's building his own house. He's been waiting on his windows for 6 months. And he's just hoping that they come in right. And having accurate measurements is so important, because you could be 6 months out, a year out, if they come in just barely off.
That's exactly right.
And so, I'm thinking that's such a huge value to you, because y'all have tested your product and y'all can provide accurate measurements, right?
That's right. Yeah, we work with an engineering firm called Hague to do a study on our measurements. And, I think we feel like we're sort of industry leaders in measurement accuracy for elevation and roofs right now.
Right.
That's what they were finding as well.
Hague is kind of the gold standard for verifying all engineering stuff.
Hague certified,
Little shout out to Susan Freeman there. Anyway, Ben, so you're a product manager. How do you fit into this equation that Matt has laid out for us?
Myself and my teams are responsible for building it, executing it, and delivering it to the market.
It's a pretty big job.
So you do the heavy lifting. Matt's sitting at Casa Arenda having some prime rib.
Wouldn't it be cool if we did X? And then Ben has to go out there and with his team and do it.
There's a lot of people involved, but yeah, something like that.
So tell us, Ben, how has the product changed, in the past 2 years? What are you working on? I assume once the math is in the product, you have the measurements, but yet you still have a big team. What are y'all working on? What are you doing? How are you improving?
Yeah. So the last time Hover was on was with AJ a couple of years ago, and he had talked about all of the things that we were doing in the claim space in terms of how do we impact carriers' objectives. We're still focused on those same objectives, but we have more proof points over the last few years, and we have new features on top of that. So there's kind of like three big things in the claim space. One is the ability to use Hover to improve your efficiency, specifically to reduce your cycle times, right? And we've had quite a bit more proof points now over the past few years. Top 10 carrier was averaging cycle time somewhere between 3 and 4 days before using Hover. And now their average cycle times with Hover is 7 hours and 14 minutes, under a day.
Wow.
Big
That's
improvement.
remarkable.
Huge.
One of our core, competencies or our core functionality of our product is the speed in which we turn around our measurements. Because we have somebody in the loop, somebody's going on site to take photos with Hover, how fast we can turn that around is very important to our workflows, to our carriers. And really interestingly, over the past few years, especially during the pandemic, we've invested quite a bit in this because we've seen a big increase in volume for our business. And we've actually have data that shows that we're improving that turnaround time by 60% year over year over the past 3 years. So we're greatly reducing the time that it takes to get that Hover measurement back, however you need the measurements, whether it's a PDF file, integration partners, photos, etc.
That's absolutely amazing is what that is.
You touch on integration. Let's take a minute and go down that road.
That's a big one.
So for us, Lee and I are claims guys. We've been in the claims industry for a long time. And, when Hover came around a few years ago, brains exploded the first time we saw it, the first time we heard, you can do what? No, that's not possible. It was a wish. But indeed, it was true. And we were demoed on it, and we even used it and still do today in our workflows for various carriers that we work for. But one of the big wishes was, boy, wouldn't it be cool if this was integrated with Exact?
Mm-hmm.
And for those of you out there who aren't on the claims side here, Xactimate is one of the two major estimating platforms that carriers need and use every day in order to digest the data from a Hover, for example. So talk about that journey to integration. I'll ask it from either of you or both and share some of that story with us.
We see integrations as super important for the carrier claims workflow, right? And it's not only the Exact Verisk integration and estimating system integration downstream from Hover, but also anything that we can do upstream. Like, how can carriers create hovers? How can carriers order a Hover in an automated fashion? I think the biggest purpose of integrations, at least in our industry, is reducing manual steps, and there's a lot of them. So we are very focused on integrating with as many partners as we can, quite frankly, both upstream from gathering measurements where we traditionally play, and downstream. So upstream, we're also looking at integrations for and have existing integrations for claims management systems, assignment systems, so Hover can be ordered at FNOL or EFNOL even.
Yeah.
So that's very interesting as well. But for the estimating system downstream, don't want to exclude the partners that we already have out there. Right. So we are already connected with Claims Connect from CoreLogic. But it's very exciting to be able to partner with the industry leader in terms of market share. And that's what the Verisk partnership does for us.
And that
so
one's
that
a
was
very
announced.
that one's a very hard one to integrate with. They say that they're open, but not very many people actually integrate with them. So was it difficult? Was it hard?
We're building it right now. It's not difficult. It's going to be a really seamless process. We're just in the process of it right now. So it's actually set to release within the next few weeks. So looking at mid to end of April for the first release. So we're excited about that.
So what is it? How will it work? How will these insurance professionals be able to use this integration?
Well, both of those things I was mentioning before in the broader concept of integrations, like upstream and downstream from gathering measurements, apply to our Verisk partnership. So upstream, like how do we order hovers? How does hover get triggered in the claims workflow process? That plays into our Verisk integration because hover can be ordered automatically through Exact Analysis, XA, the assignment platform.
Okay.
Hover can also be ordered by clicking in the Xactimate interface and saying, hey, I want to order third-party data from Hover. So that's how Hover can be ordered or triggered in the process. And then, of course, the standard Hover workflow happens where somebody goes on site, captures photos with the Hover app, and then afterwards, all of the Hover measurements, the 3D sketch and the photos show up in Xactimate. So it's kind of two pieces. Yeah.
So with that, can I go on site as an adjuster, decide I need hover, and then send it back to an assignment, or does it have to be sent out before I get there?
Nope, that'll work. That'll work as well.
Good job. Yeah. Good job.
So Matt, you've been the VP of Growth at Hover, as well as are you still in that position?
Yeah, I think for me, leading all things go to market, sort of how we drive adoption of our product in the market with our customers is where my domain is now.
So obviously you've spent a lot of time with carriers and talking to carriers. These kind of integrations, is that something that you would hear over and over again? I mean, there has to be a lot of, you're getting a lot of feedback about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we're really excited about this integration, as Ben said. That we've been talking with Mike and the team over there for a number of years now. And I think more than anything, timing just wasn't lining up in terms of taking on this type of effort. We're a mid-sized company growing fast with a lot of priorities, and they're a large company growing fast with a lot of priorities. And I think we're just really glad that we were able to bring this now to the customer and provide the better experience. But it's interesting is, for me, a little bit newer to the space on the property insurance side, learning the challenges they face in their organization. I think there's, claims leadership that has a vision for where they want to go and how they want to provide a great experience to the homeowner so that they can keep them through a challenging time sort of with their house and get them back up in a good place and then keep them as a customer. And then you have the people in the field who are doing the work. And it's a hard job.
Yeah.
And I think, going out there and driving around when a major, catastrophic storm happens or something like that and trying to get people back in a good place with their home, adding extra steps, taking measurements and putting them into a system manually isn't an ideal scenario, even if the data is, superior. And I think this integration really is unlocking not only that, but I think some of the other things that they're looking to do, like virtual claims, because we're an app, we can actually do the capture from the homeowner and save a lot of time where someone doesn't actually have to go out of the house. They can do it from a desk adjustment sort of experience. So there's a lot of things I think this is going to open up for us in terms of innovation as well. And I think we're really helping the people on the ground now that do this job day to day in a big way.
Well, I think that's where it's at. I mean, I was an adjuster for 10 plus years in the field, and I would have loved to have had this tool to help me go quicker and see more houses. But now I oversee desk units, and having this at the very beginning, I mean, talk about straight through processing. Maybe we can't always do it, but if we can add a little bit of data at the beginning, as you said, you can cut your cycle times down, crazy, but then it's the supplement rate. If you can get accurate measurements, your supplements go way down. So the technology you're bringing is, to market is very, very important. And it is a game changer. And as Rob said at the beginning, I mean, you're a big world of InsureTech. Whenever you think of InsureTech, you think of Hover. With that, I wanted to say, whenever I think of exterior measurements, I think of satellite imagery that's out there, but yet Hover can, Hover gives this beautiful 3D image. It can be ground level. You can make sure you get the eaves and all that. I think of Hover as like a name brand measurement application out there. Is there other competition out there in this space, or is it just y'all?
Well, I think that we have lots of competitors. If you think about it on the home improvement side, there's probably, when we look at the entire workflow from measurements to design to estimation, proposal, ordering, it's probably 20 plus competitors in the space.
Okay.
I think on the insurance side, we're just getting started from a point of really good, strong, structured 3D data and allowing homeowners to sort of generate that data as well, which opens up different workflows like, desk adjusting. And I think now we're sort of moving into innovation there in the workflow to understand how we can help make the adjuster's life better. So I think if you look at that and even think about things there and like how they do their inspections and things like that, there's probably lots of companies that compete in that space. You've been sort of the known knowns of the measurement space.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tools that they can use also on the collection part and sketching and things like that, even before they get to Xactimate. So yeah, I think there's a lot of folks there that are doing individual things. I think for us, we're looking at it and we're saying to ourselves, we want to get 3D structured data of every property in the US. That's our sort of goal. And then the world, how do we build enough value in our 3D data that we can generate that folks will continue to pull out their phone and do the capture for us?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes sense, but.
So is that the goal to you've said it twice now, to get all the data so that you can use it, yet all the data changes, people add on, they build pergolas, they build these sort of things. So what's the plan to keep all that up to date? Is it getting people to pull the phones out and just take extra photos? Is it satellite imagery in the plan?
No plans for satellite. I think that you never know. There's a world where we could look at different ways to get sensors to grab information. But I think for us right now, we know that everyone in the world is going to have one of these. They continue to get stronger. LiDAR is getting more advanced. It's going to get insanely accurate over the next 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
And, if we believe if we force ourselves to focus on this, we're always going to be in a position to scale and win, right? There are other ways to get data, but it's sort of a forcing function for us to make sure our computer vision teams are sort of putting their investment efforts in how do we generate the best structured data from a mobile phone.
Yeah.
Ben, I want to ask you a question about the influence of an integration on product. I would think that, your organization comes to you and says, hey, great news. We're going to integrate with this, whatever, like in the case of Xact, with this estimating platform. That has to have a big impact on you and how you think about the product and opportunities, nuances, et cetera. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it does. You're right. It immediately causes us to think, okay, we know where we fit in carriers' workflows today. Now you're telling us we have a partnership opportunity for a new integration. Does that change where we fit in the workflow? Does it highlight certain features that we have or that we could build to make Hover a little bit more appealing in the workflow? And I think that came up or is coming up now with the Verisk integration and the fact that we'll be able to send all of the photos captured through the Hover app over into Xactimate for documentation purposes. Then to Matt's point, it's not just measurements we're providing, it's also photo documentation, damage photos, scoping notes, etc. And so we've recently been working on a photo markup, photo annotation feature within our app, and that would come into play with something like this. So if an adjuster's on site, they take the traditional photos around the house of the faces and corners with Hover, and then they can go into the damage photo section of the Hover Claims app, and they can mark that up, and they can add notes, and all of that information would then come over into Xactimate. So it's little things like that. How can we add value to the existing base Hover functionality that's only going to be amplified with an integration like this?
And then I would think that once it gets into the hands of the users, right, the everyday people, that there would be feedback there as well. It'd be saying, it does this, but it would be really cool. It'd be very helpful if it did that.
Certainly.
Does that occur?
Policyholders capturing? Yeah, we get feedback all the time.
Just because it's obligatory anymore. now that maybe we're kind of edging our way out of the pandemic had a big influence on your company. Yes. Can you talk a little bit about that? Now that I don't know if it's in the rearview mirror, but maybe
on this side.
Yeah. In Texas, it's in the rearview mirror.
In Texas,
let's put it that way.
That's what we're told.
I'll give my quick thoughts from the insurance space, and then Matt can speak to it at a higher level. But within insurance, yeah, I mean, it affected us in the fact that we've had more carriers open to the virtual adjusting workflow now, and involving policyholders earlier on in the claims process. So like I was saying before at F&OL, those integrations that we have with a few F&OL systems, 2 of the top 10 carriers are now utilizing that with us. And that only happened since pandemic. So that's really exciting for us, because as soon as we move further upstream in the typical claims workflow, that just means more hovers are out there to be captured. Then we can add, more 3D structured data to our data set. So yeah, certainly very impactful.
And when you say it's an F&OL, so the F&OL operator says to the insured, "Hey, can you take a hover?" and sends them a link, and that leads them down the road.
Yeah, that's certainly one case, and we would call that a warm introduction to Hover. We also have the case where it's like a bulk send, a little bit colder of an introduction, where it's more of an EF&OL process where somebody's going online to a website, filling out a web form saying, this is my claim event that had happened to my property. That automatically, because of integrations, that automatically triggers a Hover direct to the policyholder, and they'll receive a text and email from Hover, then they go through the process.
And what kind of uptake are you getting when that happens?
It's variable, primarily because of what I was just talking about, the warm versus cold introduction to Hover. But yeah, for the claims use case, inviting policyholders, we generally see 60 to 70% uptick.
Wow.
On the very initial invite.
And I think those kinds of percentages have been a big surprise to many carriers, is how willing and cooperative the claimants have been, the insureds have been in general, about being helpful, right? About getting their phone and taking some pictures and doing and getting involved in the claim has been a boom for many of the carriers.
Agreed. They're not seeing that it's a burden to the policyholder at all, right? They're seeing that policyholders actually enjoy it, and they're seeing improved NPS and CSAT scores as a result. And I think in some of the feedback we're getting from policyholders, to your point earlier, Rob, collecting feedback from policyholders who use Hover, this is where we see some of that information come to light. They're like, okay, I'll do what I can for a claims process to move it along. It's a sense of self-determination. Like, I can take care of this problem myself, and I know it's only going to take 10 minutes. I'll do anything to get my claim moving along in the process. I don't have to worry about emailing back and forth or calling to schedule to get to somebody on site. Because my carrier works with Hover, I have this option.
Yeah, that's a really good point that we've learned through this about the psychology of a homeowner whose house has been damaged, or any property owner. Sort of, you feel helpless, right? You're kind of waiting for someone to come out and spend time with you. On the other end of it, you have these folks that really want to do the right thing for those people and do it as fast as possible. But that sometimes there are events that happen that make it hard to go see people quickly, and even when there isn't a strain on the capacity of the inspectors or adjusters to go out and spend time with the homeowner to understand what happened to their house, just having control in the process. So we're seeing some folks that have really dialed it in are in the upwards of 80%. And sort of we call it Hover Connect, sort of conversion rate there, where the homeowners are going out and capturing the property and getting the data and some of the understanding of the damage that's been done to it, so that people can start that claims process a lot faster. And what's in it for them, I think there's a level of control which eases their anxiety and being a part of the process, but also some of the carriers are sort of saying, look, this is going to be a faster turnaround for you to get resolution here, right? And that's exactly. That's a huge sort of, we call it the WIFM. What's in it for them? What's in it for me? It's a big deal for them. Right?
Yeah. Sure.
So
sure. If you tell me I'm going to cut days off of this process if I go walk around my house with my phone, sign me up.
Right. I'll pull it out and take the photos.
And most people, I think that this is one of the things that carriers underestimated is how comfortable people are with these things, right? In fact, there's probably nothing that we hold on to in a day more than this. And so to say, can you do something with your phone? I mean, they're already on it, talking to them or, involved in them or reading right from their phone. So it's not a big leap.
Yeah, I mean, they file their claim on their phone. It's just right there. Can a homeowner, after they do that, they'll have access, I imagine, to the 3D to the 3D image where they could see it. Can they actually give that 3D image or show the contractor the image, and then the contractor take it from there and order the materials to repair the damage?
Yes, unless there's some sort of situation with the carrier where that's not the way they want the experience to go. But for the most part, they'll have access to the 3D. We find that also is like kind of a nice thing to get in the process. You're like, whoa, what is this?
It's pretty cool.
Interactive 3D model of my house. I can actually play with things here.
You spin it around.
Our hope is that we kind of continue to push more transparency and communication in this process between even the insurer and the contractor and the homeowner. And contractor can show up. They can sort of work off that same set of data to help the homeowner see not only what the repairs could look like, but sometimes they go beyond that, right? We see a lot of times homeowners like, yeah, you know what? I need to like upgrade my siding anyways. Let's go with some James Hardy here. And now they can actually see what that could look like. And the contractor can start from there and sort of show them, above and beyond what was given to them for the claim, what something else could look like on their home.
What about the contractors themselves? Are there a lot of disagreements when the contractors obtain the hovers, or have we found that they accept it?
Generally, they know that we're the most accurate. There are certain areas that, whether it be other measurement providers or just the way the industry works around waste factor, that has come up, right? And those, I think we look at those as sort of like, there's a source of truth, which is our measurements. They're the most accurate. Mm-hmm. We know that. It's been tested time and again. But then there's sort of industry things in how we do estimates. And sometimes we get into this measurement company looks at it this way, and that's the way I've sort of built my process. Or when we talk to the carriers, this is how they want to look at it. And I think, we're clear with people on how we're going to do our measurements and how accurate they are. And if they want to do things in a different way in terms of how they estimate, that's sort of on them.
I want to talk a little bit about the company. I saw that in your last funding round, you guys, it was led by carriers, right? Mm-hmm. I mean that, and as far as I understand, it's been a while since you guys have had to, go to market for funding. I assume that's because of the success that you guys have been enjoying, and I'm thrilled for you. But State Farm, Travelers, Nationwide, Guidewire, all involved. Is that something that is a positive, helpful thing? I mean, those are great names who obviously would have an interest in your product. Can you talk at all about that?
We, first off, are incredibly grateful for their participation in the last round. I think for us, we were starting to see really strong signal in the insurance space. And we felt like there's a lot of innovation that we could bring with our technology being on an app, the accuracy of our measurements, the completeness of our measurements. And we wanted to partner with some of them in a way that would help us push that innovation forward. So part of the strategy was obviously to raise capital to build and innovate. And part of it was to get close with some of the industry leaders to help us understand, what they needed and the problems they want us to help them solve. So yeah, we're really excited about that and the direction we're headed. And I think it's really helped us even accelerate our roadmap and some of these things like the integrations you're seeing now, we believe as a result of us partnering with them in this way. I don't know, Ben, you have anything to add?
I mean, the insurance industry as a whole has always been really excited and behind Hover, like you were saying, Rob, early on in the show. It's been 5 years now since we've really had a vetted product in the insurance space with our claims product, and so the fact that we're getting more and more interest, we're being used in more workflows, to some of the points earlier about enabling like virtual adjusting. I think that just gets carriers more and more excited because they see the potential of Hover and how it can help their business in more ways than just being a measurements provider.
Matt, I can't let you go today without taking a couple of minutes to talk about your background. You were at Pinterest, which is for a long time, which is super interesting.
Pretty cool.
And I bet, can you just share quickly, what was it like being at Pinterest through those years, and then where it is today?
Yeah, it was a really great experience for me. So I was in the military prior to that, got out, was trying to figure out where I want to be, and startup world seemed pretty interesting, and felt like there'd be a lot of application of like military small team leadership. I was in spec ops and just thought I could really apply that at a fast growing company. And the company was only probably about, 80 people when I joined. They weren't making money yet. They were just building an app that, helped people discover things on the internet. And I sort of helped them build out monetization. And it was a really, really fun and interesting experience. I think they were trying to solve a very unique problem on the web, right? When you know what you're looking for, you go to Google. But when you don't really know and you're looking for ideas, you go to Pinterest, right? And
yeah.
They were doing lots of searches there, and the searches were like bedroom, not like a specific thing in your bedroom. People just want to see bedrooms.
Uh-huh.
But rode that from 80 people to around 2,000, worked in operations, product, sales side. We sold to the major, businesses that were doing advertising, and facing this sort of Google and Meta duopoly, if you will. But
right.
a lot of really great experience. And I think they have a great culture there that, was hard to leave, but coming to Hover has been, highlighted my career. And I think what we're building here is really special and has the potential to change the way people interact with their property, with multiple different stakeholders, in a meaningful way that changes the world.
But it must have given you sensitivity to the whole home
Yes.
improvement world, right?
That's right.
I can't get my wife off of Pinterest, generally speaking.
That's right.
Because all things home.
It is. Yeah. And they had a huge boom in their business when the pandemic kicked off, because so many people were like, all right, time to go do something in my home now. I'm sitting here all day. And I think it was really good for the entire industry. But that was an area for me. Literally through my career has been an interest in real estate and property. And I really saw the power of discovery there, the power of possibilities when you're looking at things for your home. And I think that is what connected the future vision of Hover for me so strongly, is that, we want you to take, your home in 3D and visualize things on it.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a world where what, Squarespace has done for websites and design, I think we could potentially do for homeowners looking and exploring designs on their home, right? Oh, it's at a second level. Let's look at what this, vegetation could look like in my house. And I see that down the road for this company.
One thing that you share in common with AJ, your CEO, is that you spent time in the service.
Mm-hmm.
You were a SEAL, is that correct?
That's right. Yeah, I was a Navy SEAL.
So I'll ask you the question that everybody asks you, as if it's easy to answer. Oh, how cool! What was it like being a SEAL?
That's a big one.
Yeah. In the 20 seconds that we have left.
Yeah. It was one of the most incredible experiences of my life, not just through, it's fun to jump out of planes and do diving stuff and, climb mountains. That is all interesting, but you meet some amazing people and you forge some incredible bonds, and you really learn how to be a part of a high performing team. And I think, I was ready to move on with my life and, leave a pretty dangerous job and sort of take on new challenges outside of the Navy. But what I've been chasing since then is the teams, and that they actually they call themselves the teams. And I think the bonds you build there and what you go through, and I've seen this in the startup space now, in these tech companies where you are building something really big and hard, and it's really challenging, and you can get close to those experiences where you come out of it and you look around and you're like, wow, we've really forged a special relationship here and been a part of something really special. So I think for me, if I were to summarize that entire experience, It was just about the bonds you built with the team you were on and the things you were able to accomplish together, and what that gave me in terms of my, leadership style and approach to building teams moving forward.
And do you find that culturally, Ben, can you relate to what he's saying culturally at Hover?
Oh, absolutely. It's the highest performing team I've been a part of. Not just saying that. It's definitely a different attitude. I could tell. I've been here for a year now, so I could tell day one, different attitude, different approach to work.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. Serious.
Wonderful.
That's I never thought about it before, but if I had to think of one word to give to, if somebody said to me, pick one word to describe AJ Altman, I'd say serious.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
He's a serious guy.
He's passionate about what he's doing.
That's awesome.
That is, I think,
completely shows. And if anyone's wondering where the proof of concept is that just go Google Hover, and and you'll pretty much find it. And I think with that, we'll call this one a day. Thank you both so much. What a real pleasure to have.
Really was. Thank you.
Two important contributors at the company with us again. Needless to say, like I said at the top, you guys are synonymous with what InsureTech can be. And thanks for making the time to be with us.
Really appreciate that.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
So we interview lots and lots of different people from lots and lots of different companies.
Yeah.
And in fact, we've gotten to interview people from super successful companies.
Right.
But Hover's like at the top of that pyramid.
Yeah. Especially in our world we talk to. Yeah.
We're not taking their word for it.
No, I see Hover
you
come
see it every
across
day.
Daily, you're seeing emails from Hover, using Hover, different companies starting with Hover. They are very successful. And
our own customers using Hover.
Right. They are a really neat company. And we've been fortunate to have 3 different episodes with people from Hover. And each one you end and you're like, wow, those people are top notch.
Yeah.
That's a top notch company.
It's a top notch company with a top notch product and a top notch commitment to what they're doing.
And a team, top notch team.
Top notch team. And, frequently we hear VCs say to us, when we ask them, what's the most important thing you look for when you make an investment? And the first thing out of their mouth is team.
Right.
And this is one of those rare, special groups who are changing our business. And I mean, we didn't even really talk much at all today about home improvement.
No,
but
it's a whole nother, it's a whole nother thing.
So we thank Justin Hancher. Shout out to you, Justin, for corralling these two unsuspecting guys to be with us today. We thank you, Matt and Ben, for being with us. Thank you, Alicia Moss, for making this happen once again. And thank you for being with us. And until next time, we'll say
goodbye, everybody.